It's Fox Sports Radio, Covino and Rich. We're here with Fox's Curt Menefee.
There he is. What's
Welcome
up, Curt?
to
How
the
are you,
show,
man?
Curt?
Nice to be here. First time.
First of all, nice sneakers.
Well,
You got some game right there.
I try. I have to admit, they're a gift. I did not buy them, but I like them, so I wear them. I'm not a sneakerhead. I don't know what they are. I just know there's something Jordan. See, and they look really cool.
Those
That's
are
all I know.
Jordan ones, and those are nice. And it's better than, someone making fun of your shoes, right?
That's true.
You don't have to
Exactly.
get called down with the, what are those?
And
You
it
don't
tells
want
you
that.
you got good friends
Right.
that give you good shoes.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's fun to talk to Curt Menefee because you're just not only super talented at what you do,
Thank
you're
you.
comfortable, right? It's like, because we've known you are synonymous with football.
WNYW, man. No, I mean.
And we grew up in New York, so
Oh,
I remember you
growing up in
locally.
New York, and then, seeing your career
Yeah.
progress.
MSG,
Of
Yeah.
course,
Fox
MSG.
5.
Yeah.
Dude, all of that, and then, seeing what you do now. And
That means I'm an old guy is what you're trying
not
to say.
at all, man.
okay.
It just means you've been fans for a long
Yeah,
time.
you've been part of our
appreciate it.
lives since we're little, so it's
I
awesome.
appreciate it. No, it's fun. I mean, look, we're all living the dream.
Yeah.
We're all sitting here. This is the week of the Super Bowl.
I know.
And somebody's paying us to be here.
It's wild,
You know,
right?
it really is. It's like you don't want to say it out loud because you're like, I don't want to jinx it, But this is absolutely perfect. And, this is so much fun. There's nowhere else I'd rather be, really.
When you got that call, take us through, because you're a guy that's worked in TV, you worked in radio,
Yeah.
you worked your ass off. When you get that call in 2007, like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember hanging up and telling, like, friends or family, like, yo, you're going to believe this?
Yeah, no, it was trying to think. 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
And I remember, you're waiting through the whole process, and you'd audition, you'd done all that stuff. And 2006 was the first year I was on the show, and you have to be old enough to remember, we did the show on the road that year because James Brown had been hosting it until 2005. He left to go to CBS, and then Fox was trying to figure out what they wanted to do. So they decided they were going to take the show on the road, kind of like College Game Day.
Yeah.
And Joe Buck and I were going to split the hosting duties. And then they were going to figure it out after that. So we always had to be, though, wherever Joe's game was, which obviously was always the big game every weekend.
Yeah.
So we would be on the road, and he would do, the first 45 minutes, then I would do the last 15 minutes, then I'd do halftime, and then one of us would do post-game. It was just kind of an awkward situation. So the next year, they're saying, hey, we're going to bring it back to Los Angeles, and it's either going to be you or Joe who's going to host it. So you're sitting around and you're waiting, and you're like, okay, I'm not hearing anything.
Did you call Joe and say, Joe, you don't need this?
Yeah, it was.
Like, Joe, you don't
I didn't say it, but I'm thinking it. Trust me, I'm like, one of us has the number one slot as the play-by-play guy to fall back on if he doesn't get this. The other one is probably going to be selling cars somewhere if he doesn't get it, So that kind of thing. But it's one of those, I was waiting. You don't hear anything. You go, is that good or bad? Am I not hearing it because they made up their mind and they're just waiting for, whatever reason? Or because they've already told Joe and he knows. So your mind's going crazy. So long story short, 4th of July weekend, and I believe 4th of July may have been on a Monday that year, but whatever it was going on that weekend, and David Hill, who's the crazy Australian who ran Fox Sports, who started Fox Sports, love him to death. He's responsible for everything I am right now. Called me up and said, hey, I know it's going to be a long weekend. I want you to be able to drink and have fun with your friends and everything. It's like, you got the gig. You can't tell anybody right now, but you got it.
You're like this.
So he goes, go out and get drunk. And I'm like, all right, hey.
That's great.
So it was a big party.
Yeah, exactly.
Fireworks meant a little more.
No, it was, I can't believe I just drew a blank on the name of the bar I went to. It was because I was living in New York.
Yeah.
I was living in Manhattan, and it's at West 11th and the White Horse Tavern.
Okay, yeah.
So I went to the White Horse Tavern with my wife, and obviously I was able to tell her. And then I had a buddy who was in town from Philadelphia. And okay, let's just go, 4th of July weekend, have a drink. And I told him, I did tell him.
Yeah.
And so we were able to celebrate, and we had quite a few at the White Horse Tavern.
Nice.
Wow.
And it's cool to hear because I don't think, people realize how much it takes and how much work and how long, it took you to get to where you are.
I started out in this business when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
Working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. While I was going to college at Little Co College in Cedar Rapids. But I pulled cable. I carried equipment for guys who were just shooting local news. I didn't even think about it, in all honesty, being on the air until later that year. And then sports director was like, you had a nice voice. Why don't you put your voice down on tape? Then he took it to the news director. He had me start reporting on high school and college sports. But I worked in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Madison, Wisconsin, Jacksonville, Florida, Washington, D.C., New York, Dallas.
Yeah.
And then you finally get to the network. And it was a long journey, but all those years, I was 29 when I got hired in New York. So between 19 and 29 was when all the moving around did. And after that, it was New York and then the Fox
And
Network.
you look the same. I don't know how he does it. Yeah. Curt Menefee is here. And again, we're talking about all the hard work. How much prep goes into, bigger games like this? Like, give us the scoop behind the
scenes. It's a longer day. Obviously, we've got a 5-hour pregame show. We start at 1 o'clock Eastern time, which is 5.5 hours before the kick happens. And so that's where the prep goes. I think a lot of the prep also for me goes into the week is make sure you have energy and stamina to make it through that day.
Yeah.
We go on the air, as I said, 5.5 hours before kickoff. We're at the stadium 3.5 hours before that. So by the time the game kicks off, we've been there 9 hours already. You know what I mean? Then is the important stuff. You have the game, you have halftime, you have post-game. That's when the big audience is. That's when you're crowning a Super Bowl champion. The last thing you need to do is, I'm tired because I've been talking all day. So you got to pace yourself like during the week. And so after today, Jay Glazer has his big party on Wednesday nights. I will go to that.
And by the way, you got to keep up with his energy.
Oh, well,
that's not easy.
That's a whole different
Trust
story.
me, I know how
hyped
that's
up.
a whole
different
I have to
story.
keep up with this guy, so I know how you feel.
But after that, I kind of shut it down. There's a couple things you'll go to on Thursday, Friday, but they're certainly not parties or anything. And you just make sure you get your sleep, your rest, and this is when you realize I've become mature now. Because when I was younger, you come to this thing, you're like, I'll be fine. I'll rest the night before. It's like, nah, you got to pace yourself here.
Yo, of all the people you work with, you guys have great chemistry. In the kindest way, who's the biggest pain in the ass to work with? Like, who's the guy? Well, you guys are tight. He's your bro. Who's sort of a pain in the ass?
I think we've already mentioned his name, and Jay Glazer. So now I say that Jay was best man at my wedding.
Okay.
See,
So
that's great.
I've known him forever, man. We're close. He almost caused a fight at my wedding, too, which is another story.
And I want to hear that story.
Well, he gave a speech that didn't really go over well.
He gave one of those
so did our
Steve Buscemi-
yeah, so did our producer Spot. He gave a speech at my wedding, and everyone's like, "What is this guy doing?"
That's what
Best
is
man.
happening.
More like better man.
It's so funny because Howie is recording it, and he showed me, like on his phone, and you can see Howie at the time going, where's he going with this? And he gave it, and my wife's brother-in-law, her sister's husband.
Giving you eyes, like, what is
he
it?
wanted to fight. Like, my wife seriously had to go, hey, everybody calm down. It was one of the, I won't get into too many details, but it did not go over well. Let's say that way.
My buddy did the same thing to the point where my wife, to this day, she's like, I missed the Cupid shuffle because of him. She's like, I had to dip away. So you work with these
But
guys.
I love him, just for the record.
Right.
And the chemistry is great. Please tell me that you have as much fun recording those halftime teases as we have watching them. Because they're so ridiculous. Half the time, like,
stupid.
Terry misses his line.
Exactly.
Are they that fun to tape?
They really are. But everything I think that we do is fun.
Oh, it's great.
My approach is, and I think we all look at it similarly, if we're having fun, people at home are having fun.
I'm so glad you said that because you guys have so much fun, and we always wonder.
Sports
this is
supposed to be fun.
Exactly.
Right?
I grew up in what did you care about when you were a kid? Music, sports, having fun, joking with your buddies, and that's what
doing
you guys
it with
do.
your friends. That's what I say. You're doing it with your boys, and that's what I get a chance to do each and every Sunday. But like our thing is, we don't just show up on the set on Sunday and pretend we're friends. We're genuinely friends. We spend time together.
Right. Yeah.
We do a boys trip in the off season. Last year it was Vegas. We've done Montana. We've done Florida, like fishing. Like we will hang out. Our families hang out together. My wife and Howie's wife, Diane, they're spending this week together just doing stuff. So like we all genuinely get along. So when we show up on Sunday and we give each other a hard time and we have fun, it's real.
I saw Jimmy Johnson at the Fox thing you guys did the other day.
Well, you can see his hair from across the room.
Can we talk
It's
about
like glowing.
how his hair is immaculate? What is this guy? Jimmy Johnson has the most perfect pompadour.
Jimmy will be 80 in June.
That's incredible.
Unreal,
Yeah,
right?
That's wild.
He doesn't look like it. He doesn't have his energy is not wane at all. It's unbelievable. He's a gifted man, and he's one of all the guys I love on the show. But he's the guy I feel I can lean on at any point. You get that moment, you know how it is.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know exactly where we're going here, and I need half a beat.
And you know.
You take it. And so Jimmy's that guy you can go, you take it. Because if you give it to Terry sometimes, it may go in a direction you don't want it to go. So you kind of figure that out.
By the way, how's Gronk fitting in? I feel like he's been a lot of fun, right?
He's been great. And one of the things about him that I have been impressed with is how hard he works. You get former players and they think they can just show up, and especially a guy with his personality, I'll just show up and I'll be Gronk. Like he comes in and each week he's been with us, and he's been with us every round of the playoffs, every game of the playoffs, and he tries to get better each and every week, and he works a little bit harder, and he reaches out to people in the league. He's taking this seriously is the point I'm making, and not just showing up trying to get by on his personality, and that is what you want to see.
Do you see a lot of the feedback after your broadcast? Do you care about it? Do you see the memes? Like, how many big guys could they fit on one stage?
No,
like,
I haven't, but I wonder it myself. I'm standing there, and
There's
I'm looking
a lot of guys
there's
up
a
there.
lot of people on this set, man. Trust me, I feel it. I feel it, America. But no, I don't hop online. I really don't. I probably shouldn't say this. I have a Twitter account, but I haven't been on it in probably 3 years or so. Because it's just not my thing.
right. Well, you're lucky. Nobody hating on Curt Menefee anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not a hateable guy.
Yeah,
Like,
no, well,
what are they gonna say?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm the kind of guy that all it takes is one person. 1,000 people tell me how great I am, and one person tells me you suck and I can't stand, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, Kurt's suit's pretty weak.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's like, "What do you mean?" by that?"
You'd be surprised when I was on it, and like you say, the majority of people, for me at least, were complimentary, and there was nothing bad or very little bad. But you'd be surprised. People find stuff like I did a preseason game. So I was on the road all training camp for the whole month of August, pretty much. We do a preseason game at the end, and so I'm on camera, I do the thing, and I hop on Twitter afterwards, and the guy was like, "You need a haircut because your hairline's crooked." I'm like, what the hell? What?
And by the way, someone talking about your hairline hurts the feelings. I know.
It does because it's personal.
It is very
But
personal.
so from that point on, I'm like, I
Gets
can't
in
do
your
this.
head,
I can't
right?
do it.
Kurt, I know you got to run, but LeBron, let's talk basketball just for a
Yes.
second. What do you think last night, breaking the record?
Well, we knew it was going to happen.
I mean,
Yeah,
greatest or what? Underrated, overrated? How are we looking at LeBron?
No, I think the debate about whether he's the greatest player of all time is silly.
Yeah.
First of all, why does there have to be one greatest?
Right,
You know,
exactly.
You know, I think he's the greatest of his era for sure. You could make the argument for Jordan. I could make the argument for Bill Russell. Never saw Bill Russell play, but anyone who won 11 championships in 13 years, that's a bad guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Wilt Chamberlain, they changed the rules of basketball. They changed the lane because of him. So, like, those guys, I think, would be in that category as well. I think you can make the argument that from start to finish of his career, he probably had the greatest career because of the expectations. When he came out of high school, the kid was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in high school. And we've seen all these guys, they get blown up and they never live up to it. He's lived up to it. He's never had a problem outside, no legal issues, no major controversies. I think his career probably is the greatest NBA career, particularly as we talk about in the society we live in and social media and all that kind of stuff.
Here with Curt Menefee.
One last one. So, Tom Brady, how's he going to fit in with the guys at Fox?
Well,
So
he's not going to fit in for another year,
I
at
know.
least. We know that.
Did you think he was going to join sooner, or did you think he was going to take the rest, the little break?
I don't know. I'm not surprised, I'll say it that way, because I think any of us who have done whatever we do, you know, if you do it, he's a 24/7 guy.
Yeah.
Like, there are legendary stories about him in the offseason and how he works out, how he doesn't go out and have drinks, you know, like most other guys do in the offseason. And so it's like he needs a gap year. Like, after school, he's like, I just need a break. And so I'm not surprised by that. But the thing that I'm happiest about, and I'm being true about this, is I think America is falling in love with Greg Olson. After the Super Bowl, they're going to be more in love with Greg Olson, and they're going to get another year of Greg Olson. And so I'm happy for Greg that he gets to be in that number one seat for another full year at least.
Yeah.
We'll
And
see where it goes from
happens,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Again, Curt Menefee, tell us about X-Tech before you go, man.
X-Tech pads, man, the number one shoulder pads, and they have lots of other equipment, but the number one shoulder pads worn in the National Football League. Justin Jefferson led the league in receiving. He wears them. Nick Bosa led the league in sacks. He wears them. Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing. He wears them. And the thing is, if you look back even 10 years ago, shoulder pads were these big, bulky things.
Yeah.
You know, that like you couldn't even see a guy's neck because it was so big. These are so small. They're so light. I mean, that catch that Jefferson made against Buffalo where he goes up and one-hands it, like he could not have done that in the old shoulder pads because you didn't have the range of motion. The most important thing, though, is the safety. And that's why the guys wear them, is because they don't get the AC joint injuries. The technology is there, has made it more protective. You could hit this thing with a hammer or a baseball bat, and it would have no impact on guys. And you see it in the NFL, Ohio State, USC, major colleges are wearing it, major high school programs, and they're doing a really good job of getting it in the hands of, I went to Division III school, Coe College in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They're outfitted by X-Tech, and it protects the young players in particular as they're growing and trying to get in the sport. They don't get those injuries that may be debilitating or career changing.
X-Tech equipment, the number one shoulder pad in football. And congratulations and
Thank you,
continued
brother.
success. Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet
Always
you,
a pleasure.
especially
Nice to
after
meet
all
you
these
guys.
years of watching you, for sure.
I know. I'm officially an old guy that you told me that you used to watch me when you were a kid, but I appreciate your loyalty.
Thank you,
man.
brother.
Good to be on with you
Curt
guys.
Menefee.